A starving 8-month-old baby has been rescued from a cot, while a murdered mother's body lay next to her for 2 days. Hairdresser 34-year-old Sandra Silva was stabbed to death on the 22nd of July 2022 in her apartment located at Sao Paulo, Brazil, while her boyfriend, who was suspected to be a killer, remains at large. Neighbours and friends said they last had contact with Sandra on the 22nd of July. Since then, a pungent odour began emanating from her residence, and the sounds of a crying baby could be heard. A locksmith was hired, and they entered the residence. Inside, they found Sandra's lifeless body on a bed, and her 8-month-old baby beside her in the cot. The police allege that Sandra's boyfriend, 30-year-old Daniel Garcia, who was last seen on CCTV footage on the day she went missing, killed her and fled the scene. According to reports, Sandra had been violently attacked. Her face had been shattered, and she had stab wounds on her head and face. The baby was dehydrated and malnourished after not being fed for 2 days, and had bruises on her body, which police believe were the results of the baby's attempts to leave the crib. She was rescued and taken to the local hospital for medical treatment. As the authorities investigate Sandra's death, Daniel remains on the run. It's reported that Sandra and Daniel have been dating for 1 month. New images from security cameras have been released that capture the moments before Sandra is brutally killed. They each seen separately taking the elevator to Sandra's apartment at just before 3 p.m. Daniel was later seen leaving his girlfriend's building later that night carrying luggage at 9:47 p.m. The motive of the attack is unknown. 24-year-old Ronald Besdock has been arrested and charged with fatally shooting his 62-year-old father, Daniel Besdock, at a rural cabin in Aiken County, Minnesota, after he threatened to turn him in to police for stealing. Daniel of Buffalo, Minnesota, was reported missing on the 26th of July 2022. Several days before, he left for his Fleming Township cabin with his son Ronald Besdock. The authorities said that Daniel's brother became concerned about Daniel's well-being after numerous calls went unanswered. He drove to the cabin to check on his brother, but the main door was padlocked and there were no cars around. At around 7:30 p.m. the following evening, the authorities went to the cabin and peering through the window, they could see a deceased man sitting in a chair with blood on his chest and stomach. Investigators with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension arrived at the scene a few hours later and removed the padlock and entered the cabin with a search warrant in hand. They found Daniel slumped in a chair facing towards the television with a graham cracker in his hand and what appeared to be a .22 caliber gunshot wound to the back of his head. The authorities found a note indicating that the victim believed his sons were stealing from him and he was planning to turn them into police and obtain a restraining order. The victim's other son reportedly told the authorities that he and Ronald had problems with her father, including addiction. On the 28th of July, Ronald was arrested and booked into the Aiken County Jail for second-degree murder. Ronald was reportedly under the influence driving his father's car when he was found with a .22 caliber handgun, along with his father's credit card and keys. Ronald faces up to 40 years in prison if convicted. 21-year-old Carl Ramish of Winter Haven, Florida, has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He's accused of fatally shooting his 52-year-old father, Christopher Ramish, at the shared home in the 100 block of Lagoon Road over an argument over money. The incident occurred at around 10:18 a.m. on the 31st of July 2022, when 2 calls were made to 911 about the incident. One call from a neighbour who called to report that Carl was shooting a gun in the garage, and another one from Carl himself. A neighbour told the authorities that he woke up at around 10 a.m. He walked into his living room and opened his living room blinds. A short time later, he heard what sounded like gunshots coming from outside his residence. He said he looked out of his blinds and observed Carl standing over his father and actively shooting him while he was on the ground. The neighbour said that Carl shot approximately 10 times. The witness said it appeared as if Carl executed his father while standing over his body, which was lying on the garage floor. The witness said that after Carl finished shooting his father, he then calmly walked back into the home and closed the garage door. While the witness was on the phone with the dispatcher, another 911 call came from Carl. Carl admitted to the dispatcher to shooting his father. When he was asked where he shot his dad, he replied the head. When asked why he shot his dad, Carl said because of the money, and that he said he'd been held hostage for far too long. When asked how many times he shot his father, Carl said too many times. He's dead now, he said. When officers arrived at the scene, Another witness heard Carl say, "Put me in handcuffs and put me in the back of your car," before he was taken into custody. Deputies found Christopher's lifeless body lying on his side on the floor of the garage floor, with gunshot wounds throughout his body. Bullet holes were found in the garage door and a surfboard, both of which were directly behind the victim's body. Officers located a semi-automatic handgun on the shelf directly across from the inside garage door, with 15 spent shell casings found at the scene. The authorities said that Carl suffers from schizophrenia, and when they completed a search of the house, they found that he had been underutilising his prescribed medication. It is reported that he was known to have episodes when he thinks people are trying to kill him, especially his father. Cole is held at the Polk County Jail without bond and is charged with first-degree murder.